Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to the 2024 South Asia Book Award Meet the Author webinar series, featuring this year's award-winning titles in the following categories for young adult, middle grade, and young reader. My name is Essie Lenchner. I'm the Assistant Director at the Institute for Regional and International Studies National Resource Center, also known as IRSNRC, at the University of Wisconsin at Madison. My colleague Andrea Fowler and I serve as the co-administrators for the Book Award. And the South Asia Book Award itself is supported by the South Asia National Outreach Consortium, also known as SANOC, and given annually for up to 3 outstanding works of literature, which accurately and skillfully portray the experience of individuals living in South Asia, or of South Asians living in other parts of the world. Honor books and highly commended books are also recognized by the award committee for their contribution to this body of literature on the region. A complete list of all recognized titles, going back to our first award year in 2010, is available on our website, southasiabookaward.wisc.edu. Today's event will include about 40 minutes of presentation and followed by a Q&A. So feel free to add your questions and comments in the chat throughout. I'll be keeping an eye on that. And after the presentation, we'll get to as many questions. Well, we'll get to some of your questions during and some after the presentation. And so now it is my pleasure to welcome the 2024 SABA winners in the Young Readers category, author Dezh Azaad, I just practiced it, and illustrator Nan Kao, or Nan Tao. I've tried to say people's names properly. So I'm going to just share Dezh's bio real quick, and then you'll hear more about Nan after. So Dezh is an Afghan writer who's been a refugee his whole life. He lives in Germany, where he teaches Persian to refugee children and leads seminars for teens and young adults on social change, race, and the climate crisis. Azaad loves tinkering with electronics and cooking meals that take 5 hours to make and 5 minutes to eat. Sounds lovely. Well, welcome, Dezh, and feel free to get started.
Well, hello everyone, and thanks for having me. This has been such an honor to be picked by your committee. And as you beautifully have mentioned it, that was my brief bio, and this was my debut picture book that I had with Nan. We have actually a series of books of 2, and the second one's already also published. But this was our first, and this was quite an experience for me because that was my first picture book and also for Nan. So we were both kind of new to the scene, but we had wonderful support, especially from our agents and also the publisher. They were very understanding, and also everything happened it was a quite long process, I would say, because we were looking for the best possible way to do it. But in the end, I ended up learning a lot with having this book done, and this was a part of my own childhood story that I kind of got the inspiration from and had my ways with it. And in the end, we went with this format, and I'm really happy to what it turned to be, and also grateful for your committee to pick it up and recognizing it. If you have any question, if you want to know about I have some funny stories I can just tell from developing the book.
Do you want to say a little bit more just about what the book is about and what inspired you to write it?
The book is it's about the refugee child. It's about an Afghan child that is growing up in a loving family setting, but has the struggle to find its own identity in outside this family setting, and how our narrator, she sees the world through her own eyes, and what are the struggles and how she overcomes it, and how she finds the meaning and the answers she's looking for within her culture, and especially the carpet and the relation she creates to the carpet, and how she finds these roots and this strength that she was looking for to have her own character and her own voice. And it's kind of like about the carpet, but in the end, it's not about the carpet. It's about our narrator and her struggles and how she managed to find her own way. Especially with the beautiful illustration that Nan has done for her. I don't know if you saw the back cover. This is turned out to be amazing.
It's a really gorgeous book, for those of you who don't have it. So folks are welcome to add their questions in the chat throughout the event. And unless there's something else you want to share right away, Dezh, I wonder if it makes sense for us to hear a bit from Nan, and then we can...
I don't know. I'm open for questions. Otherwise, I can just... to me, that was really important to have this book coming out, and I kind of had the feeling this is what is missing, because we had a lot of narration about Afghan culture and Afghan people like out there, and it was all kind of negative representation that we had in media, and I wanted to have that balance, and that's the other side that was missing from especially Western media, to have like some of the family and love stories that is just like exist within the culture. So it was really important to me to have some like the other side to be also accessible for our readers.
There's a really poignant page in the book where the main character, the young girl, is in school, and I love how the images kind of tell us without telling us. They show, they don't tell, right? That it looks like she's in an American school, or at least a Western environment, or somewhere away. So I want to be careful about the assumptions I'm making even now. And she says, something along the lines of, I'm not like the other kids, and there's something wrong with that. And that one really, apologies for not quoting it correctly, but that one really spoke to me. Can you say more about that moment and why you wanted to capture that? Because I thought that was actually quite unique.
Definitely, I have the book. I can also quote it the exact same wording I had. I want to also not make mistakes because I had so many rewriting. I want to make sure that I'm reading the final one. And though I'm small, I know it's wrong to never fit, never belong. That's the page that she's sitting alone on the swing that other kids are playing around. Actually, that was intentional to not be able to exactly identify where they are, because that was not the case. The only thing that matters that she's not where she is supposed to be in her home country in Afghanistan. She's somewhere else, and she's one of the outsiders, to say. And involving this line into the book was really important to me, because that's the feeling that I think everybody with some kind of being new to an environment, especially as a kid, is have experienced. I did it too. So I wanted that to be part of this book. This is something that we all have experienced to some degree at some point in our life, to think, oh, this is all new to me. I rather to be in the old setting that I know how to be in there. But I have no clue to how to be here. But the feeling that she still knows, even though she's small, that it is wrong to make someone feel like that you don't belong here, you shouldn't be here. And then this is really turned out to be amazing. As you mentioned, you saw it, you see it in the page, how she feels.
Yes, and it's very powerful because, like you said, the illustration actually does a lot for telling the story without using words.
Yes.
It's really incredible.
And for those who haven't seen the book, this is the page we're talking about, that she's sitting alone on the street and people are around her.
And it's also curious because it says, though I'm small, I know it's wrong to never fit, never belong. And this might say more about kind of my personal curiosities and leanings, but is it wrong? Is she declaring it bad? It's very interesting. There's something negative here, but I'm wondering who it's being applied to, if that makes sense. Who or what? Is she reflecting her belief, her experience, a message she's heard from others?
Kind of. She's actually, this is also, if you have read my author's note, I'm trying to explain also a little bit more about this aspect because of what happened, especially to many different nations in the world, that one or many negative stereotypes have kind of stuck to this nation or this name or this folk or any kind of like you could do it to anything, and once it's stuck you cannot get around it that easily. It's just kind of like, oh, Afghan, oh, that instance, or terrorist, or this or that, or just like this is kind of that labeling that is forced by outside world to want to have this character and identity to be adapted to them, even though they have nothing to do with it, but it's forced onto them. So this is kind of like um, reflecting on that outside uh, label forced onto her that she doesn't belong. This is not true where she should be or who she should be. And in the end, it doesn't matter what other people say, but it's one thing to be said, the other thing to be understood or feel that way.
I know we have a lot of teachers in the audience today as well, and I'm curious if any of this is bringing up stories or anecdotes or experiences that you've had in the classroom. Um, and so too, for you, Dezh, I'm wondering if there's anything you wish for teachers in Wisconsin to know about Afghan students in their classrooms. We have a large displaced population of Afghans in our state, and I think many of those students are actually in the classrooms for teachers here today. So what would you want these teachers to know who maybe have some of these students in their classrooms?
That's a great question because I had my own challenges because as you mentioned, I did and do still work with children in different ages, and I do see their struggles, especially with these kind of like bigger words that has been thrown around way too much, and they do not understand it, and they kind of repeat it without knowing what it means. And I do like to address this issue that sometimes, even with my own students, sometimes they use some word that they don't entirely understand, but they heard it somewhere and they think that's appropriate. That's something, it doesn't matter. I can't say that. And I just explain to them, this is not okay. What you're using is kind of, I don't know, questioning his identity or her identity, and that's not okay because these questions actually does hurt someone, even if you don't mean it that way. They might understand what you're saying, even if you don't. So in these like recites, I don't kind of see it as a problem. I rather see it as a miscommunication that mostly I myself try to kind of get it just simpler, to just like split it around the problem and just get it smaller. Like, let's not use that because this is not the correct term. Let's use this instead. Like that's my approach mostly to these kind of like labeling that happens, especially with between Afghan kids and with the conflict that comes with it, that happens even within the same like community. In more it's between the different communities, but sometimes it even happen within them.
I'm curious, I'm wondering if you can provide an example. Are you referring to insults from other students and bullying, or is
Not
it something
necessarily.
else?
Also
Yeah,
religion, like anything. Oh, you're a Muslim, you're gonna do that like this, or you're Jewish, you're gonna do that like that, or just like kind of explain, actually, no, that's not what it means. No, this is not what it is. And like kind of explaining it that it was a false belief by someone who spreaded this like this, and that's not true. That's not true. But like Muslims, Jews, or this or that, just any kind of difference they could pick up on, that could be a start of conflict.
can you say a bit more about your current work with refugees and students and children?
Currently, I'm working mostly with we don't have a lot of like Persian speaking refugees. That was like biggest part of my job, was to teaching their like native language because they don't know how to read or write it. So that was like my job, that I kind of worked with them to kind of also know their native speaking languages like Arabic or other like alphabet that they cannot read. for them to read, but now is more with Ukrainian refugees especially, and it's more like integration classes. We do like math, we do like different stuff, but that's it's kind of like a general class to have everybody involved and kind of like start getting used to the school setting.
And how long have you been doing that?
That's the kind of like always the weekend project. I'm kind of doing that always and never. That's the kind of those kind of projects.
Um, and then back to the book again. I'm thinking about the author's note that you referenced earlier. And do you mind if I read just a part of it for folks to know the
Of
context a bit
course.
more? So this is the last page in the book, and it looks like this. So obviously it's for adults, not the kids who are being read to, but it's an important part. It's an important page in the book. So author's note, when I was little, my parents taught me to take care of the family carpet. We are from Afghanistan, and this is how we live. Our daily life revolves around the carpet. We tend to it with the care we learn to show all things and living beings. Carpets are also special to other communities that share common histories. Like all people, our culture keeps us connected to home, no matter where we find ourselves. The carpet is one of these strings, these pieces of home we carry in our hearts. So are our cuisine and its herbs, and our games and stories. And I'll stop there. Can you say more about the significance of carpets in your life, in your childhood?
Well, I don't know how to just like to put enough pressure on this that it has been always around me. It's just ever since I can remember, I crawled on the floor. I had carpets around me, and the care and and especially with it comes this like taking care of it and just like tending with it. It has to stay clean. It has to be like it's not a carpet that um any carpet. It's a clean carpet that you can sit on, you can lie on. It's as clean as your mattress. It's just like really a different kind of living with carpet that we do, especially. So yeah, I had a special relationship with the carpet, not a specific one, like carpets having around and always having them. So it was, yeah, it's a part of me.
It's beautiful. And then I'll read the next paragraph, and I'm going to ask for your help for pronunciation here in the author's
Yes,
note. So we learn about Simorg, the mythical bird. Simorg, is that how you pronounce it?
more. Yeah.
Excellent. The mythical bird, when we are small. She is the fierce protector of children and nature, so big she could carry a whale. She is born of ashes and symbolizes strength and renewal, two qualities that are especially important in a world where certain ethnicities and nationalities, like mine, stir fear and hatred in people. Afghans grapple with prejudice all over the world. Dealing with misrepresentation is not easy for us or anyone, and it's something that no one should ever have to get used to. My parents are witnesses to this shift, so swift, this construction of an identity they cannot even imagine as their own. I wrote this book to share what we are really about, family, not war. In line with anti-racist and social justice movements, I hope that my book can participate in the efforts to uncover the heart and true face of my and all people, so that children everywhere can live and learn and love, not fear. Thank you for reading and sharing our truth. I really want to make sure to read this to everyone in case you haven't, because it's very beautiful and sends a very strong message. Um, and can you tell us more about this fantastic bird?
Of course, this it's rather on not very well known in the at least in the West, because it existed like in many different Persian mythical and like older stories that I knew as a child. And this is kind of like yeah, it's a bird that comes around in all sort of stories. Any great book, Persian book, we have like the Shahnameh, maybe you know it. That's from in there we have like Simorgh coming up, and it's always almost the same characteristics that the bird has, and I try to stick with the most common ones, and that's what I wanted to also have represented in my book, that Simone is actually, it's one of the coolest thing. It's a protector of children and like all that is innocent. It's just like nothing could be cooler, and she's like giant bird that could destroy anything that it wants. Yes, that's beautiful illustration from that.
Do you
So
know?
I love the idea of this mythical bird to have like somebody who's protecting those who need protection.
That's beautiful. I had a question that might be escaping me about the bird. Oh yeah, nature and children. I love that those two categories are brought together here. Do you know more? Can you say more about sort of like why nature and children would be in the same category here?
Well, it's I mean, if you children, it is you couldn't not love children. It goes to the same category as like nature. There's nothing bad about them that you could say about them. It's just they're children and they're being like this beautiful, loving beings that haven't done anything wrong. They're just being what they're supposed to be. So it's kind of, I think it's natural. It belongs together. It's just like, it's not adults who could do all sort of things.
I also think kids tend to notice nature and pay attention to it so much more than adults. And
Oh,
that's
they're so much better than us. Definitely.
and sort of one of the reasons I like that this bird and that it protects both children and nature is because children are in nature and of nature and sort of almost inseparable from it in a way that I think us adults tend to forget. Um, well, before I get too philosophical, is there anything else you want to share with us before Nan shares some of her work, and then we'll have time after for Q&A.
I just want to thank you and your committee for picking up my book. This has been wonderful, and I hope I could use this motivation to create more books and keep up going. Otherwise, I would like to also keep up with time and give enough time to Nan as well. I'm excited to see what she has prepared for us.
Great. Well, let's make sure that we also touch on your next book, which is, I believe, already out or about to come out. So we'll also
It's
talk
out.
about that. It is out?
Yes, it's called Sour Cherries. It's a follow-up to this story. It's the spoiler alert. It's the second child of the family that tells us a new story, and his well, we get to hear his point of view, and it rhymes. It's perfect read aloud book.
That's perfect. I can't wait to get a copy to see the beautiful illustrations and the story. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Dezh, and we'll hear from you again very soon. So, Nan Kao is the illustrator for this gorgeous book. Nan is a New York-based illustrator, and her work is inspired by surrealistic imagery and her daily life in the big city. When she's not drawing, Kao loves to hang out with the squirrels in the park, daydream under the sun, or get lost in her book collection. Kao holds an MFA in illustration as a visual essay from the School of Visual Arts, and her work has been recognized by American Illustration, Society of Illustrators, Communication Arts, AOI, 3x3, and Creative Quarterly. Nan, hello.
Hello, can you hear me now? Good. Okay, so hi guys. Thanks so much again for having me here. And like Dash said, I'm really thrilled that to hear that our debut picture book, The Carpet, had such a great honor and recognition from the book, like your community. And I prepared like a presentation to talk more like the creation process about the book, behind the scene. So I think I'm gonna just start to share the screen on my side, and I can talk through along with the presentation. Let me. Oh, okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me share it this way. Okay. So like the first time I saw the story, like the text, I was immediately like feel captivated by the story, which is like very warm, kind, like a little girl from this big family, telling a day in their life with her family, and which is very sweet and kind. But at the same time, I think what grabs me the most is this like main object, like the carpet throughout the story, because I can see like it serves such a like metaphoric way in the story that it's a object that exists in the family, but it's also like serve have some like spiritual meaning behind it that help this family to bond together and carry a lot of memories from generation after generation. And also like in Dash story, when I was reading the text, I feel like, because as a visual storyteller, I was like immediately see a lot of potentiality to create a lot of image for the book. So like I was like really excited when the editor from Abrams contact me to see like if I'm happy to illustrate this book. I said yes. So that's the beginning. Um, so of course, because I'm originally from Beijing, China. So of course, this is not a story directly come from my own culture, but that's also what make me feel excited and really curious and about this project. So of course, like this story, it's very poetic. It's talking about feelings, emotions, how to overcome the challenges when you're having a hard time. But also, I think it's a really important book that serve as a bridge to show the people that uh like a culture, like a community that is not get well represented a lot. So I think it's very important for us to make sure to illustrate the characters, the objects, the scenery in the book as culturally correct as much as possible. So we did a lot of research in the beginning. I watched a lot of videos and did a lot of research online, and also Dash was super helpful. Like I remember when I was reading the story, I had to take a lot of notes. Um, really pay attention to details to each word. Like for example, if there's a teapot, I will like have questions like what the teapot looks like exactly. Because when we think about teapot, like we imagine it's different kinds of teapot based on how we grew up. So like in order to really understand those details, I need to down all those notes. And we had this like group meeting with Dash a few times to really go through like all of these questions in order to make it accurate. And also I did a lot of research to see like how the Afghan kids looks like, how the Afghan family dresses. It offered me a really great opportunity to really study the facial feature of humans. Like once again, after school, so many years, like, because I think after the school, when I was working for a while, you start to kind of like not pay enough attention to how people really looks like. You start to get used to like you start to summarize their face in your mind. But when during this process, it gave me a chance to really like once again sit down and calm down to really look into just to study them and to really figure out their eye color, like the shape of her nose, the shape of their face and skin tone, really like being humble and curious to look at this. And also a funny story is like I had a hard time to draw beard of the man in the beginning because because as a girl, I don't really pay attention to the beard of the man. To me, whenever I see they have beard, they all looks the same to me. But when I was like working on this book and talking to Dash, I started to really realize, oh, there is something specific about the beard like man has. I think actually basically seems like the guy probably say, oh, why you girls have different nail color? Why you have different hairstyle? You all look same, but it's actually not. So I think it really helped me to like learn something that I didn't pay enough attention to before. And also, except for the facial experience, like the people, also the food plays a really important role in this story because there's a lot of things, events happen on the carpet, like washing the herbs, prepare the meal, eating the meal, and clean the carpet after the meal. So I had a lot of fun to illustrate the foods in this book. So of course, we need to do a lot of research about what kind of carbs they eat, how they cook the fish, what kind of ingredients they like to cook along with the fish, and also like what really fascinated me is like because I was always concerned like if you have a big carpet at home, if you're eating on the top of it, it's really easy to get dirty. But then it turned out like they're really smart. They actually just put like a thin sheet to cover the carpet when they're eating, and then they cleaned after. So they really like value the carpet and really using it smartly. So as you can see, this is a reference image I found from research that how they really like put the food on the carpet, how they eat and their diet, everything. So after we did enough research, we'll move to the character study stage. It's a big family, so there is like 6 people total in the story, like little toddler, the baby, the brother and sister, and the parents. Because the carpet is the theme, like it's one of the main object in this book. So we know in the beginning that we want to let this carpet show up in every spread, and we want a traditional classic Persian red carpet. So we know there will be a lot of red colors in each page. So when we're like doing a character study, I was on purposely like trying to give the clothes color to more like a cooler tone. So it will help them to stand out better with a lot of red colors in the background. And I think the most of the figures here, like characters, the working process is pretty smooth. We did have some like struggles. We did put a lot of time to figure out how the mom gonna looks exactly, because we want to capture the beauty, like the gentle motherly energy for the mom, but at the same time, we don't want her to fall into the old stereotype that we want the mom to be looks both soft, kind of also strong, and have this like really like powerful like free spirit. So so this is the final like character study we settled down for this book. So after we figure out what the family gonna looks like in this book, I will start to jump into doing a lot of thumbnails for the book. So those drawings never been shown to the editor or anybody except for myself. Dash never seen this. It's too messy to be shown in the work process, but it's a very helpful process for me to study the flow of the book, to figure out how we want the page to be turned and how to switch the angle from spread to spread, like which page we want more like a zoom out version to show the whole family, or which page we want to have like a bird eye view, which page we want to be more like a dramatic or like creative, imaginative. And also in this process, I learned a lot about the gutter of the book. If you see the left side row, the bottom one, there's a girl like, so this is a thumbnail. So her face, I put her face right in the middle of the page because I was thinking it's gonna be a spread, and to let this character sit in the center of the page will be very powerful. But later I learned that it's actually when you really produce a book, the gutter can eat most of part of her face. So it will not be as powerful as we thought. So we finally decide to move her face to the left side and readjust the composition to keep this powerful energy, but also not causing any like practical problem for the printing later on. So after I got all the thumbnails figured out, the flow of the page figured out, I will start to do like more like a refined sketch and to share with the team. So here, like the top one is the final art for the book, but the bottom one, like the little image here is the sketch I presented to Dash and the entire publishing team. Because it's a story about the family. We need to draw a lot of figures in each page. And also we want this carpet to flow through the whole story. So I think it's very important to figure out the color palette in the beginning. So so when I was doing the sketches for the book, I actually did a lot of not only the black and white sketch, but I also did a lot of color study for the key images to try to figure out the potential problems as early as possible. And so this is the first spread from the book. And as you can see, it's the first time we show the readers how the carpet looks like and all of these amazing, beautiful pillows in the background. So as you can see, there's a lot of red colors in the book and different shades of red. So it is one of the most complicated spreads in the book as well. So I think after we figured out the general color palette for this spread, it made the rest of the creation process much smoother. So this is another spread from the book. As you can see here, like this part of the text is talking about they're preparing the herbs for the meal for the family on a carpet. So I was able to really like study and draw different kind of herbs. And also I was trying to use a different angle, like more showing the plants, those ingredients better and in an unexpected perspective. And also let the girl, like the little toddler, to look up right into the reader's eyes to create this like cute and warm energy for this spread. So this is another spread about the family. And as you can see here, we're talking about the meals. So this is the big naan, is this the bread that people eating there? And I also showed this reference photo earlier on. So like those reference photos helped a lot when I was like doing the illustration here. And also we also paid a lot of attention to those details. For example, originally I was thinking the way they eat the bread, gonna be they just tear a piece of bread and eat it. But when I was like, when we were doing this final review for the book, Dash pointed out a great thing that actually there's another way, more common way for them to eat the bread is to wrap the bread with the herbs together to add more flavors. So we really like in the very last stage, we update that little part to make it as accurate as possible. Yeah. And also, like I said, the reason I love this book, another reason I love the story very much is because when I was reading the text, I realized there's a lot of scenery in the book that allow me to depict the family, like the events the family doing together with a more realistic approach. But also, there's different part of the text. I can see the potential for me to create something beyond the imagination. For example, the spread here in Dash story, he's talking about this, the lava, like what's the name? The floor is lava game, like kids usually play in the family. So they will imagine, because the carpet is so colorful and with different shapes and colors. So the kids will like say, oh, this part of the carpet will be the lava and that part will be the safe zone. And they will imagine a lot of creatures around them and how do they jump through those obstacles to get to the destination. So instead of drawing something really realistic, like draw a bunch of like those kids playing on the carpet, in a realistic settings. I was trying to create something that is actually happening in kids' mind. Because when they're playing games, they can be really serious. They can really have a whole story in their mind when they're playing that is not visible by the people next to them, but they can really create something really colorful in their imagination to make their play more fun. So here I was just trying to create something visually that is not exactly like a copy and paste of the text. So when the reader's reading the text and seeing the visuals, they can really have this really interesting mixing experience to read this part. So this is another scene from the book. It's talking about they play the chess game on the carpet and the same approach, trying to make something more magical, and I got inspiration. I remember when I was watching Harry Potter when they played a chess game, and I was like, oh, this is good way to like play, like they're really making this game seriously. And this is the last spread I want to share today about from the book, and this Dezh already presented. I think this is one of my favorite spread from the book. This is Dezh's favorite spread from the book. I think this is one of the favorite spread that everybody like in the team. So for this one, the line for this book is very short. I think it's talking about, but the carpet keeps me strong. But because there's so many stories happen before this spread, and there's a lot of feelings built up before this thread was shown to the readers. So we were like thinking about create something really simple but emotional and leave a lot of space for the readers to really feel those feelings, interpret the line with their own imagination and experience while they're reading the book. And so this is a readjusted. The bottom is the readjusted sketch from the thumbnail. As you can see, I moved the face to the left so we can really see the girl's face nicely without worrying about the gutter when you're holding the book. But at the same time, we leave the more like space to the left side to show the carpet and in a more like zoom in version. So I was trying to thinking about create a lot of dynamic and movement in this spread. So I was trying to let the carpet to flowing in the background like a wave, ocean, this kind of energy. And I want the girl to look into the reader's eyes with a lot of kindness, a lot of love, and a lot of confidence. And I'm so happy, like finally the team all love this piece enough to make it into a case cover for the book. So while we're working on the interiors for the book, we also put a lot of effort to decide and figure out what the cover gonna looks like. So this I just want to share like a selected series of the cover studies we did before we reach to this destination, like to figure out what exactly the final cover gonna looks like. So this one, like the top left one, is the first cover from the first group of the sketches I presented to the team. We loved the energy of the piece, but we were a little bit concerned about, yes, the narrator of this book is the girl, but we also don't want the family to let the family being completely left out on the cover because it's still a story about family, about love. So then we did we add all the family back to the cover. And so we also did a lot of different variations. And so the bottom three one, we kind of figure out, oh yeah, we want all the family gather together on the bottom part of the cover. And we were thinking about to let the girl to look into the readers. So it's a small hint for them to see oh, this is the narrator of the book. And we're having all the other families to look into each other, not having this direct eye contact with the family. And also what I'm really happy is even though those sketches didn't get directly used into the book, but we did those sketches was able to get readjusted and to be used in different part of the book. Like the middle one on the top, we adjusted it to make it into the spread I just shared, and finally becomes the caves cover. And the top right one, we kind of readjust the pose of the family and made it into a title page of the book. So that was a very like rewarding for us. So that's it, and this is the final cover after this long journey, and this is the final cover everybody loved, and it turned out great, and we're so proud of how it turned out. It stand out great on the shelf in the bookstore, and yeah, I'm so just really happy to see it's alive. And before wrapping up my presentation, I just want to thank you again to Dash for trusting me and supporting me to illustrate your beautiful story, and to thank our agent, Evergy, for supporting us to help us to deal with all of this complicated thing behind the book, and to thank our editor and art director for helping us to bring this book alive. And also thanks to the South Asian Book Award team for giving such a great honor to the book. And thank you.
I hope folks join me in a round of virtual applause. Thank you so much, Nan. I find that I learned so much from hearing about the artistic process.
Thanks.
And all that you have to learn in order to accurately portray the people in the book. And that's actually one of the criteria for the award. We have a review committee, and we pay a lot of attention to the illustrations to make sure that they are inoffensive and that they accurately portray people. So get a round of applause for that. So thank you.
Thank you.
We have about 7 minutes left, and some folks are joining from far away where it's much later. So I want to prioritize any questions that we have. There's some really lovely comments in the chat, and if we don't get around to reading those, I took a few screenshots just to share with Dezh and Nan, because you got some lovely compliments and comments. So if anyone has a question, you can put it in the chat, you can raise your hand, or you can just unmute yourself. So I'll do my best to wait silently to see if anyone wants to speak up. I'm not seeing anything yet, but if you're thinking about it, please do raise your hand or unmute yourself.
My question is, how many hours of research did you actually do?
Thank you, Denise. Yes. How many hours of research? I'm guessing for Nan.
Nan, yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't count. I think we spent weeks, months to do the preparation, and the research is still going on throughout the process, because we're like trying to, like I said, even in the very end, like we were able to pick up this like a little detail, like how the mom should hold the bread and eat this. So I think this research and this like corrections continue throughout the book until the very end.
I would say this one in particular was really hard because, as Nan mentioned, every sketch we did, somehow at some point, a tiny detail, you just realize, hey, you know what? When you talk about shoes, this is what Nan would think about, and that's what we want to be authentic. Now we need an example, and everything just kind of always circled back to me because I was the only one who was supposed to know how this should look like. So I had to represent I remember prepping these giant documents with so many answers to questions with reference. Okay, the beard should look like this, or the pillow, it's kind of like we wanted to have this shape and that shape. That was like, yes, and that was one of the things that I was really grateful, because Nad was so patient that reading throughout these documents like for 20 pages to get exactly what we were looking for and trying to stay authentic.
I'll just read the comment Kathy left, relevant to what you just said. Kathy said in the chat earlier, listening to both Nan and Dezh, I have a new appreciation for what goes into writing and illustrating a children's book. The story sounds so lovely and the illustrations are so stunning. I will get the book for my office and recommend it to the pre-service teachers I work with, for sure. Thank you, Kathy. We love to hear it.
I hope you
Thank
enjoy.
you.
But it is true. I never thought before doing these books how many emails are behind each page, how much you have to kind of clear out before you have the final draft that here Nan represented. Like a lot, 300 emails for one page. I don't know. It might be not exaggerated.
Wow. And I just got another great question privately. For you, Dezh, how about the lyrical text? How many drafts did you go through for the writing?
That's a good question. For the carpet, actually, we didn't have too many edits because it was my debut, and I had like many different rewrites before we sent it out. So within the agency, we had many different versions. But once we had the final, we did actually very few changes that was really important and made it much better. Actually, my editor was like so good with catching these little things that we had to fix. And I'm so glad I had her to see it because I oversee all of them. Otherwise, they shouldn't be there to begin with. But I don't know. I had many different versions, but since I was working on it on my own and it was still an idea and nobody knows that it will ever even see the daylight. So it was many, I can tell you. It's just like one of the pages maybe was the entire other book idea and kind of like it was thrown together and just took out this. So I don't know if I can answer that question because it was like so open and then kind of fished out from something from each and everywhere I had.
Thank you. That's fascinating, especially yeah, various things are unexpected about writing a children's book. So I really appreciate the background you're providing. So as we're coming to a close, I wanted to give you both a huge thank you for showing up today and sharing your work.
Thank you.
It's a really fantastic, beautiful book, and thank you, Nan, for sharing your slides. I'm glad some folks who maybe haven't seen the book in person got a taste or a feel for the gorgeous illustrations. And so, to close us out, do you want to tell us about your recently new book, your latest book that I think you two worked on together, and what else you're working on? What's up next that you want to share with the audience today?
Well, we do have sour cherries that I can only recommend because, well, all the experience from the first one is also in the second one, and we kind of made it even like more cheerful and got away a little bit more from the like heaviness, and the heaviness kind of is further in the background, and we have more of this joyful and love in the front. So I do definitely recommend to pick up also the second one, sour cherries. And yes, that's the second one that is already out. And we have I have some other books that are coming out, and hopefully we have another one coming next year. You can stay tuned. And yeah, and I have some new projects that I'm working on that are quite exciting, but it's not that far ahead that I could announce it yet, but hopefully soon.
Keep us posted. Nan.
Yeah, so like I'm second Dash what Dash said. Yes, our sour cherry just released recently, and it's a very lovely story, and it's the concept is very smart because it's like the story is told by different members from the family. So it's actually because we all know like even we're in a family, how we remember the childhood is very different. So I think it's a very like sweet add-on to the first book. And so regarding to the project I'm working on right now, I'm also writing and illustrating my first picture book, and it's also inspired by my own childhood stories. And hopefully, like it's still like in a work in progress, and but hopefully, it will be able to like reveal more to the audience like next year. Yeah,
Fantastic.
thank you.
Well, in case folks are we do have a question in the chat. When is it being published? I think it's to Nan.
Which one? Our Cherries is already out.
I think this is for the book or the work that Nan was just talking about.
Maybe.
Oh, okay. My book is scheduled to be published in 2026, so I think a year ahead. And it's a story about a little girl reflecting on her life and childhood with her mother. And because they were like when she was little, her mom was to leave her for a while to work, and then after they reunited after a few years, and then her mom took her to a new journey together and start a new chapter in their life. So it's basically a love letter to the mom, and yes.
And what's
And the title is When We Were Snails.
When We Were Snails?
Snails, yes.
When We Were Snails.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see it once it's out. I'm sure it'll be beautiful.
Thank you.
There will be a post-event email sent out this week with the copy of the recording from today and with links to your personal websites and the books that you have coming out and the educator resources available for the carpet, and any other resources that have been mentioned today will be collected and assembled in that email. So thank you all for joining. Thank you to the review committee for the South Asia Book Award Review Committee, and to our authors and illustrator. So thank you so much, and we'll see you. Please make sure to sign up for our next webinar, which is next week, and you can see that on the SABA website.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.